because man's task is to make the earth after the model of heaven. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Man's project is to heavenize the earth. Man is made to transform the world from glory to glory, to take hold of it and break it down and remake it after the image of heaven.
Welcome back to the Reformed Reset. My name is Grant, and joined with me is my beautiful wife, Ericha, the weaker vessel.
Hello, everyone.
If you guys would, please go to takeholdstudios.com. You can check out the Take Hold blog. And if you're in podcast world, subscribe to the podcast and leave us a 5-star review. Here on the YouTube channel, go ahead and hit subscribe and hit that like button. And so that way you get notified every time we put out new content. Make sure you hit the bell. And what else to put out? There's a link to our merch store in the description below. And if you want to contact us for any reason at all, you can contact us by emailing us at takeholdstudios@gmail.com. Now, check out the Weaker Vessels Kitchen episodes as well. They've been putting out some amazing stuff, a lot of good feedback.
Yeah. So
don't miss that stuff. This episode is
an emergency episode.
Kind of an emergency. And
it's like almost 9 o'clock at night. We're in PJs.
Yeah.
But this is important. So
but you know what? I know this is going to be backwards, but get to work. That's what this sweatshirt says.
That's what we're doing right now.
It's also going to be somewhat of a serious episode. We may not...
Well, there are going to be very few times that we come to you in our pajamas at 9 p.m. with laundry on our couch.
Right.
That doesn't happen every time.
No.
So, what are we talking about? Why do we want to do this? Why is it such an urgent matter?
So, we're going to talk about...
the DC-5?
The DC-5.
Yeah.
So, if you guys have not seen already, there were... parts of 115 babies found as quote-unquote medical waste behind an abortion clinic in Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. And Apologia Radio has already done an episode chronicling a lot of the events there. Which
we're on about day 8 post-find.
Yes.
Right now. Details are coming out slowly. So
I go watch their episode because it gives you a lot of context, and it's very graphic, but it's very good. It's very much needed for us to really see the horrors that abortion is.
So these babies were found by pro-life advocates. They intercepted these baby bodies, corpses, and they called up some lawyers and some pro-life people and just said, like, what should I do with these body parts?
Right.
I was going to bury them, but, like, what do I do? This is wrong. And they took them to the police station, from what I understand, and the police refused to do an investigation, even though there were several babies that looked to be full term.
It was, yeah.
And to be...
totally newborn size.
Full-size baby that were probably aborted/murdered after they were born.
Well, and the guy that Apologia had on, and we're not here to just rehash Apologia's episode.
But it was good.
But it was very good. The guy they had on there, AJ Hurley, he's in the medical field, and he even worked with infants as far as respiratory care goes.
Yeah, he's a NICU.
Yeah, so like,
nurse.
So sizes of babies, like, and even if you're like a mom of a whole bunch of kids, because you're reformed, like, you just know, like, oh, that's a newborn, right? Like, some people, you see a baby in the store.
Well, he had a video as well of him as he opened the bucket of baby parts, essentially, and it's very graphic.
He could tell right away, like, this is not 10 weeks old, 12 weeks.
This does not follow DC's laws.
Yeah, and DC's laws is 20 weeks.
So we think. We're not entirely sure about that.
Not 100%. Yeah.
But whatever, I can look it up right now, but whatever it is, like, he knew for sure that it was against the law.
Right. Well, and he could tell that some of these look like post-birth. And so this was obviously...
Well, and if you listen to any kind of true crime, you would know that, like, coloring and there's, like, just certain things you can tell. how a person died.
Well, and he since he got fired because he wouldn't get the jab, he has been the head of a abolitionist ministry
up to 19 weeks and 6 days
in D.C. So there you go. So you're right.
You're right. Okay, we just want to double check.
So he knew that, but also he's doing ministry and this sort of thing, and so he knows the gruesome methods that are used to abort babies. And I think he picked up, noticed like some of these are not even the method. And so what happened here? And so he's thinking this is an illegal post-birth
It was very evident
abortion.
it was illegal, even according, I mean, all of it should be illegal, right?
Right.
But he knew that it was even illegal according to DC's.
Like it's murder 100%.
Always.
But even according to their laws, on paper, it's murder. So they thought, well, take him to the cops then.
Right.
The cops initially said, we're not going to touch this.
Explicitly, they said, we will not touch this. They refused to do not ultrasounds. They refused to do autopsies on the infants.
Yeah.
And they had them for several days and refused to do any kind of autopsy on them. So it was the police department who dropped the ball majorly.
Now, I haven't traced everything because they are now. He said,
well, we're not really sure, actually.
He said they did on the episode that the police were finally investigating it. To what extent or why or whatever. Conflated.
So, essentially, the biggest issue is that they were not initially appalled. The police, I mean.
Right.
The police were not initially appalled and thought this is a crime. I have a huge problem with that. Mm-hmm. You have a baby looking at you, a dead child looking at you, and you're just like, meh.
Right.
I don't think I'll do anything about that, right?
Right.
But I first heard of this case when I was following Lila Rose on Instagram, and she was talking about the DC-5. Mm-hmm. And it's not even 5 children anymore. Now it's confirmed it's like 115 children. Mm-hmm. When the case first broke, it was about 5, they thought. It's gotten way worse than that.
Right.
But so she's kind of been like updating her followers on Instagram about stuff. And last I heard from her, the police department still refused to do an investigation.
Jeez. And
she was encouraging pro-lifers to call the mayor's office and require the mayor to do an investigation, to require an investigation.
Right.
Against the police department. So we did.
So I called today, and should we say the date of today?
Today is the what?
April 6th.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah. So I called today, and I thought the number, first of all, I thought the number would be discontinued already because I thought Lila Rose has a huge following. There's going to be thousands of people and they're going to be inundated with calls. Or I'd get a busy signal or just a voicemail. Like if you have a concern, leave it after the beep.
The one thing they did mention was if you had concerns about COVID, you could talk to someone.
That's true.
COVID's the pandemic.
COVID's still the problem in DC, not
the death of children.
Not infanticide.
Yeah, exactly.
But I got a live person.
A live person?
And honestly, I was a little shocked. I think she was just the executive assistant for the mayor. And so she said, "How can I help you?" And I said, "Hi, I want to know if there's been an investigation started for all of these babies seemingly murdered found in Washington, D.C." And she said...
She knew what you were talking about right away.
She knew right away.
Yep.
So either there has been a bunch of calls or it's just on their radar as like, hey, y'all, we need to like PR. We need to do this right.
She told you there was a pending investigation.
So she said that the chief medical officer of Washington, D.C. has a pending investigation concerning this.
Maybe if you're like a cop out there, like let us know, like what is a pending investigation? It kind of seems like double speak. Like, is there an investigation or not? What's a pending investigation?
Now, because of my military background, an investigation has a beginning, and then it takes however long, and then it closes.
It's like saying, I'm about to start to do something.
But when the investigation is ongoing, like I know in the Army, like you can't talk about it. Like no one can say anything.
Well, I understand an ongoing investigation, but a pending investigation.
But that could be the same
Let us know.
terminology.
Because that irritated me. Because... grammatically, that does not make any sense.
But here's the thing, though. Even though there's an investigation, it doesn't mean it's going to be done righteously or correctly.
And it probably won't.
No. They're going to find, like, let's say, 9/11 Commission, right? That was an investigation. Do we even trust its findings?
Well, I don't know. Do you?
Do you?
Do you? Don't even get started on that.
But even the JFK, what was that called? What was that commission
The Warren
called?
Commission?
Yeah, the Warren Commission. But we don't trust its findings.
The problem is that because the cops initially said we're not going to investigate
touching that.
this,
Yeah.
that tells me that there's corruption right there.
Right. The fact that they can't see dead babies and be turned inside to, and then be prompted to do anything, because even at I don't even know. I can't fathom the laziness that would even that
it's
someone.
not lazy. They're not lazy people.
That's
they're
the only.
Police, they are very motivated individuals. The problem is sin, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
And you can't blame it on anyone else. Like, if you are choosing not to do the right thing, it's your problem, and you are being sinful.
Right.
It doesn't matter if there are people who are, in high authority over you, who would be upset, whatever. Like, you do the right thing always.
Mm-hmm.
Always. But we made our 3 kids watch the Apologia.
So here's your take hold thing, right? Let's reform our home
Yes.
aspect.
So we made our kids watch the Apologia video that they just put out.
Mm-hmm.
We got about halfway through it, and we're like, I think
It's a little heavy.
I think we about
It's a lot
stomached all we could stomach. But our kids were
In tears.
mortified.
Yeah.
Just mortified. They were just appalled, crying. And this is not a new thing to them. We have trained them since infancy to know what this is.
Yep.
They protested in multiple states.
Yep.
In the DC pro-life march they've been. So they know what abortion is, and they have seen
3 different states we've privileged to march.
They've seen signs and posters,
Mm-hmm.
but this one in particular is just horrific.
Mm-hmm.
And it's intentional for us. We want our kids to see the terrible nature of abortion. We want them to see it and to hate it and have their stomachs turned by it, right? Long after we are gone, heaven forbid, abortion is legal in their day and age, right?
Right.
They have to fight against it. So they have to hate it. We
Right.
need to train them as Christians and parents to hate it.
Right.
Because the world loves it. They love death. They love abortion. Shout your abortion, right? That's the whole tagline.
Right.
So we made sure our kids knew about it and heard about the story.
Well, and we told them too about how much our president and all of the liberals and even many conservatives are a problem of a different sort when it comes to Republicans and even the pro-life movement as a whole.
Right.
But liberals though it's healthcare. And I was telling the kids, listen, Biden and all them, they will say, we really need to care for women's health care. And I said, but what they're saying is we need to do that. And I pointed to the screen.
Baby's head in a bucket.
That's what they're calling healthcare. And of course, the kids are like, this is so stupid. And I'm like, but this is the derision that those who hate God are being held in, where they believe such stupid lies.
It is stupid. Because sin makes you do dumb things and believe dumb things because Satan is the father of lies.
But the thing, too, though, is that Satan does that because he knows that everyone is made in the image of God.
Yep.
And that even though we are totally depraved, we are not utterly depraved.
Right.
And that still resides. There's a lot of people
right.
Who when they see horrors, right? They see the horrors of war or whatever, even if they're not a Christian, there's something in them that turns. And so how does the devil get them to his side and get them to do what he wants? He deceives them.
Right.
He tells them it's just women's health care. And then they are trapped and ensnared in order to support mass murder.
Right. Providentially, in my Bible reading today, I came across Psalm 10.
You want to save that? We'll just fully read it at the end.
You don't want to read it right now? We could talk about it.
Okay.
I think it'll inspire a conversation.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So this was in your Bible reading today?
Yep.
You want me to read it now? Or did you have more comment?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Psalm 10, everyone. This is the word of the Lord. Why do you stand afar off, O Lord? Why do you hide in times of trouble? The wicked in his pride persecutes the poor. Let them be caught in the plots which they have devised. For the wicked boasts of his heart's desire. He blesses the greedy and renounces the Lord. The wicked in his proud countenance does not seek God. God is in none of his thoughts. His ways are always prospering. Your judgments are far above, out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he sneers at them. He has said in his heart, I shall not be moved. I shall never be in adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and oppression. Under his tongue is trouble and iniquity. He sits in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places he murders the innocent. His eyes are secretly fixed on the helpless. He lies in wait secretly, as a lion in his den. He lies in wait to catch the poor. He catches the poor when he draws him into his net. So he crouches, he lies low, that the helpless may fall by his strength. He has said in his heart, God has forgotten. He hides his face. He will never see. Arise, O Lord. O God, lift up your hand. Do not forget the humble. Why do the wicked renounce God? He has said in his heart, you will not require an account. But you have seen, for you observe trouble and grief, to repay it by your hand. The helpless commits himself to you. You are the helper of the fatherless. Break the arm of the wicked and the evil man. Seek out his wickedness until you find none. The Lord is king forever and ever. The nations have perished out of his land. Lord, you have heard the desire of the humble. You will prepare their heart. You will cause your ear to hear, to do justice to the fatherless and the oppressed, that the man of the earth may oppress no more. And
if
amen.
that doesn't hit the nail on the head, I don't know what does. But
Well, it tells you that abortion is just like the pinnacle of wickedness,
sin. Yes.
right?
Yeah, it is true. But I love the line at the end that talked about like the Lord is king.
Yeah.
Like for post-mill, the nations answer to him. They will give an account. Either
Yeah.
they think he's forgotten.
Right.
God doesn't see what
He's
we're
hiding
doing
his
here in the
face.
dark
He's not
places.
watching
He
me.
doesn't know. Because Romans 1, we do know that everyone knows God exists. And they are in active disobedience and treason. They know that they will give an account. They have a conscience. They do know. And what is done in dark will be brought to the light.
Yeah.
And they will have to answer for their wickedness. They will give an account.
Yeah.
Which should be terrifying for them. But it should inspire us as Christians to know that God is a God of justice. That these terrible crimes that happen to these innocent babies, they're not going to go unpunished.
Right.
They will give an account.
And here's...
And it's fearsome.
Yeah. Now, it's easy for some Christians, maybe. It's easy for some Christians to, maybe for most Christians, to point out the problems of the left, the liberals, the Bidens, the Kamala Harris, the Planned Parenthood organization, and all this kind of stuff.
Did you say pant whorehood?
No, Planned Parenthood. I don't know. Planned Parenthood.
It is a whoring organization, though.
It is.
Sacrificing their children to Moloch.
The conservatives, the Republicans, their problem is that in their silence, they have picked a side.
Yes.
And Jesus said, you're either for me or against me.
Yep.
We believe there is no neutrality.
Nope.
There is no neutral sphere of this life where the kingship of Christ matters not. All right?
This is very evident in most other areas of our life. Like if we saw someone place their infant child in the busy roadway, and then we just stood by and watched it get run over, right? Like we would know that person who watched that happen is guilty as much as the mother who put the child there. We could all agree to that. I don't know anyone else that would just be like, well, he didn't mean to just watch it die. Like, of course you did. But so many Christians, by their lack of just action, are doing the very same thing.
Well, so here's the problem, is that the church has adopted stupid slogans like, it's a relationship, not a religion. Okay? And so, like, the problem, yes, it's Republicans who think they believe the myth of neutrality, but it's the church that believes the myth of neutrality as well, and they've adopted more spiritualistic suggested and Gnostic ideas of their faith, to where they actually believe crap like it's a relationship, not a religion.
So that means that what I do with my hands doesn't matter.
It's only how I feel
if I had Jesus in my heart and in my home, it's fine. But
Lord,
he doesn't require anything else of me.
And so this is something
there are
that
literal signs that say that people put in their homes, and I think it's wonderful.
Right.
It's Gnosticism.
So and this is something that popped in my head, until we rightly see the body and blood of Christ in the blood and wine at the Lord's table, then we're never going to really pay attention to the body and blood of the babies in the womb.
Right.
And I am not talking about Catholic transubstantiation.
Well, just above in my Bible reading plan app thing was Leviticus 9. So I read Leviticus 9, and then I read Psalm 10.
Mm-hmm.
And all throughout Leviticus, there's a whole bunch of talk of blood and sacrifices and how to do sacrifices and blood on this, blood on that, this kind of blood, not that kind of blood, and da-da-da-da, right? So much detail.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes as Christians, we can be kind of bored with those chapters in those books because we just think this is so redundant. Why does this matter to me now? But it does matter.
Mm-hmm.
Because blood is always required of humans. Because we are sinful, blood is always required to be in fellowship with God.
Right.
And as a Christian, we know that that's true because Jesus' blood is what's washed on us.
Mm-hmm.
So because of Christ's blood, we are now in fellowship with God the Father.
Right.
And our sins are washed away through that blood, right? We've got all kinds of hymns about that.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about how, in the occults, weird, witchcraft and all that kind of stuff, blood is a key component.
Very prominent, yeah.
To a lot of their, even spirit cooking, and it's gross and deep. But somewhere in the back of our minds as humans, we know blood is required.
Right.
We know that there's something about blood. And maybe the pagans don't understand really what that means, but why is it lifeblood that everyone always requires?
Mm-hmm.
And in abortion, we can see women are not wanting to give birth to their children. They're not wanting to sacrifice their own lives for their child.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll shed the blood of their child.
Right.
And they think that is easier than giving birth.
Well, I think
the live abortion, not to be grotesque, is there will be blood from the mother and blood from the child, right? It's a double payment. The mother pays and the child pays.
Well, even, I with what you just said, that the mother doesn't want to give her life for the child, I think that's even more evident that one of the most popular arguments to allow abortion is what about the case of rape? And usually it goes straight, the only weight to that argument is, well, the mom didn't even consent or want this, and what's going to happen to her and her body, her life during this? It's it's still a human.
First of all, even in Christian circles, I have heard a lot of women say, I did not want to get pregnant. And they're married and have been, happily married for 2 or 3 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to get pregnant yet. This is not in our plan, whatever. Yeah. I don't know how that's any different in the world's eyes from a woman who's raped. Why is it wrong? Mm-hmm. Why a woman who gets pregnant in a happy monogamous marriage, why is that different than a woman being raped by her father?
Mm-hmm.
It's the desire, the intent of the mother wanting to get pregnant. That's the thing that we're saying, right? If the mother doesn't want it, then it's invalid. If the mother wants it, then it's valid. That's their argument.
Yeah. Well,
so why is rape any worse than any other baby that's born and conceived in a union that isn't necessarily planned?
Well, what's stupid about what's stupid about the world's argument is that they have no morality anyway to judge what's wrong or right about rape anyhow. And so it's stupid. All of a sudden they're righteous. All of a sudden they have a moral standard. Rape's wrong. Where did that come from?
But it doesn't matter how it's conceived. It's just if the mother wants it or not, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't that the argument?
True.
So if the mother's been married for 13 years and doesn't want the baby, then why is it any worse to have an abortion at that point than if they're raped by their, uncle,
but also,
sister,
if it's fine
brother.
to...
Just kidding. But you can't be a sister now and rape someone and get pregnant if you're a girl. Right?
Girl, boy, whatever they are.
No, but a boy can be a girl and rape their sister, and then it's just sisters raping each other. I don't even know. It's ridiculous. It's just so preposterous with what they're doing with gender right now.
The other argument there about the rape situation is
what
is so wrong if we're all just from apes? What's wrong with an ape
I was going to say,
being apish?
What if the father who raped the daughter said, I don't identify as your father anymore. I'm your, neighbor next door who's a girl.
Don't give them ideas.
I'm just saying, like, that's what we're doing now. So how does it even...
I bet you someone's thinking it right now.
Scientifically, right? Science doesn't matter. If you have a DNA that says male, you could be a girl. So a DNA that says you're a father, now you cannot be a father if you don't want to be a father.
I'm not sure if I can handle this right now.
It's just ridiculous, though, right?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
They're depending on genetics and DNA to even make any kind of argument for anything.
Yeah.
And it's absurd. But all this to say, in the end, see, this is telling us to make a point.
Right.
What do we want people to do? Most people listening to us will probably agree with us. What do we want them to do?
We need to go for the jugular.
Well, fight where you are.
Wherever you're at in your state, county, by any means possible, go to your local pregnancy crisis center. Ask them what their stance is. See if you can support them. And I know that not all pro-life ministries are alike.
Right.
And some soft pedal a lot of things. Some won't call it murder. I serve on the board of a local pregnancy center here, and they do. And they preach the gospel to girls who come in that are worried and scared and whatever. They educate. And they preach the gospel to them.
And they pray for them.
And this is why I was okay to serve on the board. I wanted to know where they were at with this. But it goes beyond that, too. It goes to state legislatures and things like that.
If you haven't contacted any of your, government officials, then I don't know what you're doing as a Christian. You are failing, and shame on you. If you don't know who to call, who to email... What are you doing? You have no right to say that you are even
upset about it.
They wouldn't even know that you're upset about it because you've done nothing.
Right.
It literally, I can get worked up on this issue, but it literally requires zero money and hardly any time to send an email.
Well, and what better use of your time anyway?
Even
Who
a
cares
stay-at-home
what time
mom
it takes you?
has a potty break wherein she can send an email to her local congressman.
And listen, I know y'all can Google, so Google
it's
it,
easier
find
than
it.
Ever. And you don't need to pay for postage anymore. It's just so easy.
That's true. Email's free.
So do it. Bug them. Make them hate when they see your number on the caller ID.
Right.
Make them hate it.
At them on Twitter.
Make them block your emails.
At them
Make
on
them do
Facebook.
It. Aside from that, educating your children.
Well, and tell Republican. Yeah, we'll get right back to that. Especially if you have a Republican, anyone in your area, reach out to them and tell them, I have tons of friends that will happily support you if you will make a stand on abortion and be vocal about it.
And if you're not, then I will encourage them not to vote for you.
Right.
I got a big sphere of influence.
Exactly.
Yeah. They don't know if you don't.
And it's true. And Christians do care about it. And there are Christians everywhere. And courage begets courage. And so we want to, spur each other on to love and good works, right?
Right.
Okay, you were going to say something about children.
I said we need to educate our children. I know as parents we can feel like we need to shield our children from the evils of the world.
Right. That's too much for them.
That's too gross. It's too sad. And it is. Both of those things. And that's why we should tell them. As Christian parents, we are teaching our kids that there is an evil in the world, right? There's Satan, there's his demons, and
they're out to deceive your kids.
And they hate God.
Right.
And so they're going to make you hate God too. And this is a way in our culture that Satan is winning, right?
Yeah.
He has convinced Americans that it's okay to kill their own children.
Well, and if he can keep them in the dark completely, he would be more than happy to. And we've known people who literally had no idea what happens in abortion. They really didn't know.
And whether they liked it or not, I would show them a video.
Right.
We have to just show people what it really is. And I know that there's kind of even a portion of some pro-lifers who don't agree with showing images of aborted babies. They don't like it. It's too much. It's too gross. But that's why. It is gross.
Yeah.
It is messy and it's terrible and it's sinful and people need to know that. It's not a neat little surgical thing.
I hope that we can educate our kids enough that when they see in a city somewhere blah, 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 like family planning center.
Or women's health.
Or women's health center that they're going to think, wait, do abortions happen there?
What do they do there?
Like, I want our kids to be discerning and shrewd enough to be able to pick up on that, right?
Yep.
And so when they hear the pagan politicians say, blah, blah, blah for women's health care, that they know what they're actually talking about.
And our oldest is 12, right? Like, she is a woman, and she has started womanly things, and she will have friends in her life that are discussing this. Right? Like, in not too long, she will have friends who are, able to get pregnant, and they might have, concerns, and they might be scared to tell their parents, and they might think this is a great option. Our daughter has to know it's never an option. And I hope that she's equipped if and when a neighbor girl comes to her and tells her, I'm pregnant, I'm going to go to this clinic, that she knows, let me show you this first. Let me tell you why I don't think that's a good idea. Like, we have to equip our kids. We have to. Right.
It's murder.
Right.
We have to keep calling it what it is.
We're not raising children. We're raising adults.
Yes.
These are going to be, these people that God has given to us are going to be adults much longer than their children. Right. And we only have a very brief window to shape them. And we can't just put it off because it's not happy.
Well, and I'm happy that my parents placed a huge emphasis on this issue. And maybe we protested, I don't know, but I just know that this was constantly talked about, and it was an issue that my parents taught me. And so I know that that's why I understand and place a huge emphasis on this. Right. So
I hope we're all raising activists.
Exactly. We should. There's nothing wrong with being a one-issue voter if that's your issue. I mean,
the issue is murder. It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Legalized infanticide.
But a third of our generation is dead. It's a pretty big deal.
Right. So.
Just saying.
Probably need a law against that.
Yep.
Wholesale against the whole land. All right. I think I'm good.
You need to call the mayor of DC.
Yes.
Even if they're saying there's a pending whatever, please keep calling them. And don't stop until we get a favorable verdict. Just keep calling. The pressure needs to be on. Yep. This needs to be talked about. It needs to be public. Tell your friends. Share apologies video with them. Right. Share this episode. Get it out there. We'll give you the phone number real quick. But
y'all ready?
You have to call.
202-727-2643.
So one more time.
202-727-2643. And that's the mayor of Washington, D.C. That's his
if you don't know what to say, if you're kind of nervous, just call and say, I am a concerned citizen. Don't say where. And then just say, I want an investigation to be had for these babies who were found illegally aborted at this facility in your city. There needs to be an investigation and an autopsy.
Yeah. What's the outcome? If they say, there's a pending investigation, then I want an outcome. Yeah. And I want justice.
I'll be calling back until I get a favorable result. Yeah. Just be forthright. You'll never talk to these people ever again in your life, right? So what does it matter if you feel like you don't sound smart? Just say it. But if literally every single person who's a Christian who's upset by this has 5 friends who agree to call. Yeah. And those guys have 5 friends, and it just goes on and on and on. That mayor of DC is going to be forced to do something.
Yeah, force them to change their number.
Force them. And if they change their number, then you find the new one. Right. Lila Rose is probably going to have
that's right.
An update soon. So
exactly.
Yeah. She's a great person to follow on Instagram, by the way.
Yeah, Lila Rose Official. Yeah. On there. Yeah. She's the founder of liveaction.org or something.
So we have wax long. It is late.
It is.
We get grumpy at 8 p.m. But it's an emergency. You need to pray.
Yep.
If nothing else, please just pray.
Read Psalm 10 and pray that God would bring justice for the babies, and that he would change hearts of the doctors, of these moms, and don't do nothing. Don't buy the lie that our Christianity is just a relationship, not a religion. It's not.
It's both.
Exactly. It's a false dichotomy.
Yeah.
So
please do something.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching, and I hope as sad as this is, that you are encouraged to go out and do something, and that's what we wanted to encourage you guys to do. So until next time, take hold and reorder creation by first reforming your home. This has been the Reformed Reset.
But on the basis of grace and on the finished work of Jesus Christ, the project is back and forth, and the destiny of a new transformed world is assured.
Just put the sourdough in the oven too, so I've got like 40 minutes.